Next thing I want to talk about is going to be regulations. So everywhere you go, there's going to be a different regulation. And it's important for you as the angler to be the educated one on these regulations. We even see in Florida, there are multiple zones in Florida just on the West Coast that have different regulations than every single zone. So there's some places we can keep redfish, there's some places we cannot. There's even the difference between the West Coast and the East Coast of Florida. Understand that those are two different bodies of water. We got the Gulf of Mexico on the West Coast, where on the East Coast we have the Atlantic Ocean. There's different regulations for all of those. And it's important that you know the different regulations because the cops aren't going to take "I didn't know" as an answer. So one of the things I want to point out is an app that I use on a very regular basis. It's called Fish Rules. It's got a little picture of a fish on it, and it has all the different regulations based on your geographical location. So what'll happen is, let's say I am, wherever I'm fishing, I think I have it set as federal Atlantic waters right now, but I can select the location of my current area and I can have it pull up what are my regulations on, let's give an example here, mahi would be a great one. So mahi in the South Atlantic federal waters, there's a bag limit of 10, which means there are 10 fish allowed per angler, and a maximum vessel limit of 54. That includes everybody on your boat. There's a minimum size of 20 inches on them, and it tells you that it's a fork measurement, so you have to measure to the fish's fork. And if you have questions on any of that, you can actually click on it, and it will show you how to properly measure a fish to the fork. It'll tell you when the open and closed seasons are. They're never closed on those. It tells you the definition of bag limit. It tells you the definition of vessel limit. It tells you everything you need to know, and even has a picture of that fish. So looking at the regulations on a regular basis, it literally has everything on here. Sharks, different species of snapper, different stuff too. Like here's an example. There's even some shellfish on here. Whether you have horseshoe crabs, golden crabs, coral, queen conchs, anything like that, it's all on here, and it has fresh water as well. This is probably one of the most comprehensive apps I've ever seen when it comes down to understanding the rules and regulations of fishing. Some of them even have gear regulations, what you can and cannot catch these fish on based on your gear. So there might be places where gigging is allowed, which is stabbing a fish from the surface. There's places where gigging is 100% not allowed. Like I said, ignorance is no excuse. So that app probably has the most in-depth information I can possibly recommend. There was a situation where I was out fishing one time. We caught a flounder. Flounder was open according to the last time I checked it, which was about 2 weeks ago. It was a 14-inch minimum. Throw them in the cooler. One of the other captains was fishing next to me. He goes, "Hey Phil, I think they just closed flounder." I go, "What?" So I immediately grabbed the fish out of the cooler. He texted me that because he was fishing that close to me. I grabbed the fish out of the cooler, threw it in the live well, and I pulled up my Fish Rules app, only to find out they did close it, but it stayed closed for 7 days, and then they reopened it. And I'm like, we don't get emails. We don't get updates from our Fish and Wildlife. We don't get any of that. It's up to us to learn the information in the moment. And I mean, I'm a fishing guide. I'm on the water all the time. Like, you think that I would know all these things. I don't always know them. So there's a lot of times when we catch a fish, I'm like, oh, cool. Haven't seen that one in a while. I don't know the size limit on that because it changes. They just increased cobia from 32 to 36 inches, and it was a fork measurement, which makes it even harder to catch one. It's like everything that is out there needs to be double-checked in the moment. I mean, you're reeling in, let's say you didn't read the regulation on cobia and you got a 34 or 35 on there. Like, damn, that's a big cobia. You grab the gaff and stick that fish and you kill it. Guess what, man? If you get caught, that's a crime. So understanding the regulations, knowing what's in the body of water you're fishing for, and looking at those regulations is extremely important. Yes, you might run into some cool cops and cool fish and wildlife officers here and there. I have, but it's not every day. And, they're not going to listen to ignorance as an issue. So, in conclusion there, it's an app called Fish Rules. I don't know if I could get you a picture of it. It's in the center bottom of my screen there. It's got a little fish on it. It's called Fish Rules. It's the best app you can download. It even works when you're on GPS, when you don't have cell service. It can still find your location and give you the regulations for that area. So, highly recommend downloading that so that you understand the regulations of where you are. If you don't know, sometimes going to that local bait shop can save you the benefit of the doubt there and kind of learn some things from them.